Welcome to the podcast. Thanks so much for joining. And today is an awesome day.
Yes, it is.
Much better than our last podcast.
Yes.
That day was not so great.
Well, we have some special guests with us today, which we are going to talk more about. And so I'm really excited because this, again, is just like a little insight into Alicia Doman Hernan's childhood, life, future, and how God's just been preparing us for this ministry, like my whole life, literally. And you will understand. You'll understand this soon enough.
And depending on when you're listening to this, we're coming up to or already in the midst of Lent.
Yep.
And so if you have not heard about Cane and 90 before, go check it out on our website about a Lenten program for couples. And
it's free. That's the best part about it. You can promote it in your parish. People can just sign up. So it's, hey, if you're a priest, if you're a pastor, if you work for a parish, promote Cane and 90. It makes you look really good. It looks like you invested all this money in this Lenten program, but it's actually just free.
All right. So for our special guest today, I'm just going to do a little background, I think.
Go ahead.
So we, as a family, have gone away on a family retreat for a number of years.
People have heard us talk about taking
and really the seeds were planted on an experience Alicia and her family had early on.
Yeah.
But we had been doing it for a number of years. And finally, actually it was 2 years ago, we started looking into...
it's probably 3 years ago, because I think we first looked during COVID.
Yeah. Anyway, we ended up finding the place that Alicia's family went to.
That's right.
And we ended up taking our kids there this past summer.
Right.
Or at least 5 of the younger.
Okay,
crew.
So I'm going to give a little bit more background.
Yes.
And then we'll get into our guest. So my parents were always very intentional about our relationships with each other. So I'm second oldest of a family of 10. So I think when we had like 6 kids, 7 kids, my parents took us all away. We went on 2 different family retreats, actually 3. We went up to Cana Colony in Madonna House up in Canada one year. Then we went to Scranton, PA, to a place called Fatima Center. And then we went to Cape May, New Jersey, to the Marinist Center. And when we were raising our kids, I remember thinking about how formative those family retreats were, because it's not just like a couple retreat or like a single person retreat, but it's like, it was a retreat that like helped you build your relationship with your family. And so we looked for something like that around us, and we never found it.
And we just created our own.
And then we just created our own. But then I was like, you know what? I should look up Cape May, New Jersey. Like, what was that? What was that all about? You know?
Because this is like 20 years back in your memory. 30 years?
20 years. Oh, you're so sweet. I'm 52, so.
Come on.
It was 40 years ago. More than 40 years ago. But anyway, long story short, we actually went back to the same place that my family did our family retreat at. And then we captured the directors and drugged them on our podcast to come and talk to us. So welcome Anthony Fucci and Jessica Sherwin. Thanks for coming on.
We are happy to be here.
It is great to have you. And it's great to see the background too, because it feels a little familiar.
Yes.
Not totally, but enough. You know?
And so I was going to say, Anthony and I, we possibly have known each other for over 40 years. Because going on, when we took our family, he and I were talking, and your family went on these retreats too, right?
1976. I was 8 years old when my parents took me and my brother to the Marinist Retreat Center.
Okay.
And little did I know it would change the course of my entire life.
Right. And then I think that my family went in like 1980. So couple, who knows? Maybe you guys kept going. I don't know. But but it was so funny going back, and it was like revisiting an old neighborhood or something. And it's actually amazing to me that just a very few days when I was 10 years old had such an impact on me, even as a 10-year-old, And I just think it kind of speaks to the power of families like coming together to spend time together. You know?
Yeah, actually, Jessica or Anthony, what would you just, we're going to go into themes later and break down more. Just tell folks, what is it that you guys offer
that's
there in Cape May, New Jersey? How do you sell what you're doing? How to let people know? Because I think it's a beautiful, beautiful opportunity that really is pretty unique.
Well, since Jessica creates most of what we sell, I'm going to let her answer that.
We do offer retreats for a wide range of people. We have individual retreats, women's, men, different specialties, contemplative prayer, knitting. But the main part of it is the family retreat ministry, especially the summer program. To start with, you sell it almost like a summer vacation with a purpose. So that the families can grow closer to each other and grow closer to God. But then they also have recreational activities because we're a block from the beach.
Yes.
So that's a big selling point as well. We have mass every day, which families love. And so you get everything. Right. Yeah. You get the spiritual, you get the fun, you get the meals.
Yes. Yes.
Our meals are great. So it really is the whole package. So for a purposeful vacation, this is a great place to come.
I love it. And our kids loved it. First, I think the winner was the Jersey Shore. Like, we're going to the beach. We can walk to the beach from where we're staying. That sold them on it. When I said
that sold the teenagers on it. And
that was huge. Now, I didn't bring up that there were no air conditioning, but you know what? They actually said in the end, it was actually no big deal. Because
you're
it was
outside so much,
and there were so many things that became more and more attractive as our kids have done it, have gone through it. The relationships, the people, they were there just the other night. They were texting people that they met from that they're staying in touch with. And it's just it's beautiful. It's really, really powerful. And all families need a time to have, the way you said it, the purposeful vacation, right? It's this mixture of getting closer to God, to their family, and also just enjoying nature and having fun, getaway. And it is pretty darn affordable. I don't know how you guys do it, do a lot of fundraising, but it's awesome.
Anthony, can you just explain just why is it called the Cape May Marinist Retreat Center? Did I say that right? Why don't you?
Our official name is the Marianist Family Retreat Center. And when you came and when I came as a child, it used to be called Christian Family Living. And some years ago, the board and the province, the brothers, decided to change the name and call it the Marianist Family Retreat Center. To get that Marianist name in there so that people understand that we're part of this bigger Marianist family, Marianist charism. But also to have that word center in there so that from here would emanate all kinds of goodness. And like Jessica was saying, and what I preach a lot is everything we do, whether it's a widow's retreat, a teen retreat, a college retreat, it all comes from the family program. That is the core of everything that we do. So that's the center of everything we do. So the official name, Marianist Family Retreat Center, if you're going to Google it.
Yeah. So, can you just go back 1 second? One thing that you said right there that we obviously believe as well is that the family is the center of everything. Can you just expand on that? Like, what do you mean by that? Why would you say that those family retreats are so central to the other things that you do?
Well, one of the documents we created are core beliefs of a Marianist family retreat. And the very first core belief that we have is the family is sacred.
Wow.
And we believe that. And that is why we do what we do.
See, that's why we love you guys.
Yeah, when I read that, I was like, these are our people. Oh my gosh. Sorry, continue.
I mean, all those themes that we mentioned, I don't know if we mentioned them on the podcast yet, but the themes of welcoming, affirmation, communication, the daily themes that we do, and we can cover them maybe a little bit later. Yes. But all of those are aimed at strengthening the family and helping the families recognize their own sacredness.
Yeah. Because I think that that's really the challenge is that so many people, they're just living day to day. They're just trying to keep these kids like fed and clothed and going to school, all of that. And you kind of that's really what a retreat is for anybody, no matter what the retreat is a time to step back and be like, okay, wait a minute, I just got to recenter. Like, why is this so important? You know, like, why are we doing this family life thing? You know, just because it is so important, and to kind of refocus.
And just to kind of affirm that, right? That we're encouraging people. There are a lot of people who are listening who may not be able to get to Cape May, right? May not be able to come and join you. But the principles, the themes that I want to kind of unpack more, we need to incorporate that. All families need what you're offering, and you just make it easy and accessible, and you provide good meals and a fun atmosphere and all of that. But you have limited, availability, particularly in the summer. So if anyone's interested, sign up now, because I think they're almost done, right, for the summer. They're almost booked up. I assume you're almost booked up for the summer.
Yeah, we're taking applications now. I mean, Diane, the keeper of all things in the office, would let us know, but we trust that there's some openings for sure.
All right.
People want
Cool.
But yeah,
at minimum, get on our mailing list, on our e-newsletter that we send out monthly. People can do that by contacting us.
Exactly.
So if you can't join them for this, there are other occasions for women, for other different retreats there, because it really is a beautiful, and it's kind of a sacred space. But it's also a fun. I mean, it was just great conversations with our kids and activities. But do you want to go like just to the themes? Just thinking about these key themes that you guys have really distilled over the years, right? I mean, these are themes that have carried through and kind of they still survive the test of time, right? I mean, this has gone through many iterations and developments. Maybe we could go through. Yeah,
you want to describe when we're I mean, our listeners don't know what we're talking about when we say like these 5 themes. You want to just tell that what are we talking about when we say that?
Absolutely. We every family retreat week, each day has its own theme. Okay. So the whole summer we'll have a fun theme, something creative. We've done road trips and
50s diners.
50s diner, that was a good one. Space, things like that. But each day is a different theme. So the first day, of course, is welcoming as people come in. Then the first full day is communication, then forgiveness, affirmation, commitment, and commissioning. So it's a process that we go through together. And the themes are really timeless.
Yes.
And also universal, because you may have a family that's struggling with, just day-to-day life. You may have a family that's struggling with a handicapped child, a job loss, whatever situation the families are facing, those themes apply. Right. So if we can have these universal themes as our foundation, it's going to speak to each family differently, just based on their experience.
And those themes, you guys have been using those same 5 themes for how many years?
Since 1970.
I mean, that's just like, that's just so awesome. I just love that. And it proves that they're universal. That you could have been doing this through all of the cultural changes that have happened within the family through the 70s, through the 80s, through the 90s, and to today. And I can tell you right now that us even doing it with our kids and going through those themes, working on our communication and talking about forgiveness. As a matter of fact, I think some of our listeners will recognize, like, we talk about forgiveness a lot, like on our podcast and through our ministry. And and this is what I mean by, like, I've been preparing for this my whole life.
It's true.
Because I know that part of the reason my parents incorporated that into our family is because they took our family on this family retreat and they learned about the importance of forgiveness and how to do it and why to do it and how to reconcile. And they incorporated that into our family, and then I incorporated it into mine and into this ministry. So, well,
and just going through these, knowing that you're beginning, it's building, right? And again, for families at home, that you can go, you can experience, but just thinking through these themes, how are we communicating? And just having that frank conversation with our 10-year-old and our 18-year-old, a little different level of conversation there. But it was so cool to see, okay, starting with that communication, what does that look like? How do we do this? And then, but it was kind of an easy starting us in. It was pretty open. But then when you went to affirmations, there were some really beautiful breakthroughs. But then you added forgiveness and what that looks like. And then having a teen seeking forgiveness from us, or them honoring or affirming us, and or likewise us honoring them. There's some great activities that families, we just get caught up in stuff, and we got to pause and say, that's why we need a retreat. I think every family needs a retreat, and you can do it together.
Yeah. You know what?
Right.
Would you mind? So I was thinking one thing that may be great for our listeners is to give some examples of activities or things that you do for, if we can go through these 5 themes.
Like that. Yeah.
Is that all right if we do that, Jess?
Sure.
Okay. So how do you do communication? What are some things that families, exercises they can do, something they can do at home or on their own family retreat to help increase communication in their family?
I think part of what we do here, the activities we do here, is just to set a stage to communicate. So it's not sitting down and saying, well, how do we communicate? Usually here on Communication Day, we play some kind of game.
Mm-hmm.
The families play some kind of game. So it might be a scavenger hunt where they go around the property, and at each station, there's just something to communicate about.
Right.
It could be just a question to think about. Where's your favorite place to go on vacation and why?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Was it like the day you were born?
Yeah.
Yeah.
For parents to share that story with their children.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So it's really in providing that environment and the opportunity.
Yeah. Yep. Exactly. And putting in a fun element. Sometimes we just do something goofy, like do a silly family hug and take a picture of it.
Right.
Things like that. Everybody sing your favorite song at the same time. Well, that doesn't work if everybody's talking at the same time. So let's just pick one and sing it together.
Right.
Yes.
Right.
Things like that. And then having the game element keeps it lighthearted. So it's not like, okay, we're going to sit down and talk about talking.
Yeah. This is intense.
You're moving around, you're having,
Right.
and which is great for communication, and it's great for us too because it's the first day.
Yeah.
So we're kind of easing people into it. But then when we open up the lines of communication on the first day, then the rest of the week follows more smoothly because you have that communication implanted already.
And then for forgiveness, that next theme, the big activity, is writing the letters to your family members. When I used to be a teen moderator, what's that?
No. Go ahead.
Yeah, I was gonna say, when I used to be a teen moderator, the first thing that I wanted them to stay in the letter is, mom or mom and dad, or dad, I love you.
Yes.
And then follow that with, you're either seeking forgiveness, you're trying to bring something to the surface that's maybe been bothering you as a young person. And it's just it's a simple activity that, yes, you can do at home, but hey, look, I've been here for 25 years. I don't write forgiveness letters to my kids at home, but when we're here, we do it.
Right.
And again, going back to your point, Mike, about that's the purpose of a retreat, to bring you out of the ordinary madness, or what you like to say is messiness of family life, and, have somebody put this in front of you and say, here's something you can do, try it.
Right.
Yes.
And I think a lot of times we underestimate how well kids respond when given the opportunity. Because some people, and I'm sure you've seen this, some people are like, oh, my kid will never do that. Or, oh, my kid. But you know what? When they're in the environment in the right way, and they're given the opportunity.
Yeah.
Because I think that kids want to connect with their parents. They really do, but I think they just don't know how.
They don't have the steps or the tools necessary to lead them. And for parents, one of the things that I loved when we were with you all is that there was a confidence. Everyone's doing it.
That's right.
And you guys have been doing this for years, right? And I think so many times as parents, for a lot of the stuff that we do in parenting, we're like, I don't know, is this the right thing? Is it going to work? How's it going to go? Is it going to bomb? What are we going to do if it, and just kind of the confidence and it, like, no, this is what we're doing. This is it. This is the expectation. It was so beautiful. And it just, everyone just was going. And you created the right kind of peer pressure or the culture,
Exactly.
right? That just was,
right.
That's what we're doing.
I'll move in the right direction. So how about commitment. Why don't you describe, what do you guys do for the commitment activities?
Or what does it even mean when you say commitment?
Oh yeah, that's true.
Well, when we say commitment, we're talking about, the promise that, spoken or unspoken, that you make to your family, that you make to God, to make to yourself. So when we do have the kids break up into age groups to do activities based on each of the themes. So in their peer group, the kids will talk about, what are you committed to and why? And how is God and your family reflected in those commitments? You might be committed to your sports team, but ultimately your commitment is to God, to your family, and how is that reflected in how you live? And then we challenge the kids or the parents to make a commitment to their family. And for a teen, it might be, I commit to put my phone down at dinner. And then we share those at night. And then each family is asked to make a commitment as well. One commitment to strengthen their family, so to take the retreat home. What are you going to do to hold on to this when you go home? And then the others to the world. How do we take this out to the world? Like Anthony was saying, the idea is that it emanates from here. So now as you go forth, how are you bringing the spirit of this retreat to your community, your friends, your family? Yeah. So they walk out with a solid commitment to work on, a little homework to do as they head home.
So the most, I guess, one of the most impactful parts of the weekend for me too, or the week, I should say, was during that commitment time. That's when I remember when the parents renewed our wedding vows. And that is the ultimate commitment, obviously the foundation of the family. And I forget how it was communicated, but I remember feeling, maybe you obviously know how you guys do this, but kind of giving that foundation for the kids and having the kids witness their parents doing that and how important that is. And then how we committed to each other and then our kids came up and joined us and we all prayed together. Could you just comment on that marriage piece, which is, I think, so still beautiful for kids to see their parents doing that,
Yeah, I think that's why we do it, to have the children witness the love of their parents. Without the love between the parents, there is no family. To start it. So, so we definitely always want that witness to be part of every retreat, is that commitment between mom and dad.
Right. And then I think it's beautiful how then their kids, using that as an example, are invited to also make their own commitments
to the family.
Yeah. What were you going to say, Jessica? Sorry.
Oh, I was just, one of our core beliefs is within the context of the community. And I think that's a witness as well, that it's not a private thing that you're doing with your family. You're witnessing to the community, but then also the community is supporting you fully. And that's huge to do in the community aspect. And I grew up coming here as well. And I just remember, as a youth with other youth, we couldn't wait to have a spouse that we could stand up in front of the altar here at Mary's house and renew the vows like my parents did, like we saw other parents did. So
wow.
I don't know if guys had that dream growing up here, but so many, it's like, I just can't wait. And so when I did finally do it with my husband here, I saw all these parents do it for so many years.
Wow.
Witness and the continuation, so that the kids now want to aspire to that as well.
Well, it's a simple little thing in some ways, but I know you all know this, but it's really profound. I mean, both as just as a married couple, doing that in front of your own children, or just doing it at all. Forget about in front of your children, but then in front of your children, right? But then to have the community, and then and then kind of the fruit or the rippling of that there are other I don't know if there are that many young men, but at least the young women maybe that are planting that seed. But it's planting the seed that a culture of marriage, that a culture of the family, this is normal. This is what we should aspire to. I too much in our world tries to pull us apart and distract us or get negative on stuff. It's about building up and strengthening, saying this is good, this is holy, this is awesome, and it's fun.
Yeah, and I think that whole aspect and one of the core beliefs, of the Marinist Center, you mentioned before about the family being sacred, but then the other that Jessica just referred to was that we minister to families in the context of community. And that is something that our world, I feel like, does not understand, that no family is an island. Like, we weren't created to just live out on the prairie, mom and dad and kids just by ourselves. You know what I mean? Like, we were created to live in tribes. Like, we were. That's how you're supposed to develop. And there's many things obviously I love about, the Family Retreat Center, but that whole aspect of community that I grew up in and was formed in so many ways by my own parents, I think is so good and healthy, to feel responsible for other people in a good way, but then also know that you're being supported by other people. I think that, I just think that that's so, it's not done very often. Could you just speak to, because I know the different activities that you guys do to build community. Can you just talk about some of the ways that you build community during the week between the families?
Well, we try to do that in very practical ways. We all do the dishes together. We clean the houses together. But we also are, Jessica mentioned we attend Mass every morning together. Yeah. The teens are together in their peer group, the preteens, the superstars are the little ones. So we're always intentionally build, even the way the rooms are set up. You're typically rooming. If you're a preteen or older, you're typically rooming with a child from another family. So you're building community, even in that level. Yes. And then our Marinist family. We form a group of volunteers that come on their own time and just because they want to serve. And we have a chaplain, maybe a couple of Marinist brothers from time to time on different weeks. But we're all forming this community to serve the family. So that's also a witness. And it has become a tradition here for children to grow up here and then want to be part of that Marianist family. Like, I want to do that. Like when I was a kid, I want to do that. I want to be one of the leaders,
Can you just talk real quick about the Marinist family? Because that is one thing, when I explain that to other families, it like blows their mind, that you would have a group of volunteers, a family themselves who are coming back to serve, to help with the young children. Happen? Like, because I remember in my mind, I can picture the faces of the Marianist family members who helped my family. When my family's there, like the Domans, they're there with like 7 kids under 10, right. and these older, I don't know, college age people, who were there helping, serving. Like, that is just such a beautiful aspect of the retreat that makes it doable for somebody who has a lot of little kids, I think it's such a beautiful, beautiful thing. So how was
that done by accident, or how does that happen?
Well, back in the early 70s, it was definitely more dominated by the Marianist religious, whether they be brothers, priests, or sisters, and then you might have 1 or 2 lay people, and then the way clergy and brothers and vocations have gone, that part is sort of still very viable, but has become smaller. And the lay people in the church have been elevated, which is a beautiful thing. And so now the staffs are, a little bit reversed, where we have more lay people working together with a few religious. Both Jessica and I were volunteers before we ever dreamed of working here. We came actually on a retreat in 1997. Jessica and I worked together, working on a staff, never knowing that we would be, full-time employees for over 20 years together. So,
Right.
God works in mysterious ways, I guess.
That's awesome. That's awesome. Yeah, and they stay, the volunteers, some of them are in just for that one weekend or that 1 week, and some are for the whole summer. Is that, or how does that work? Or is it each?
Primarily, folks sign up to volunteer for a week or two.
Gotcha.
Sometimes we'll just happen to look for a summer intern who will be a consistent presence throughout the summer. But it really is primarily just a week or two commitment. And that's part of the culture that you grow up with. Again, you grow up, you can't wait to be a volunteer.
Yeah.
Kids are waiting till 15 with their parents, 16 on their own. And then we also cultivate it. If someone comes for an adult retreat, sometimes we'll say, oh, did you think about volunteering? We have our young adult retreat coming up soon, and we'll try to recruit people from that as well. So it's just a part of our culture and what we do.
And another important part of our the way we cultivate is for host families. So families that have come for a year or 2 years or 3 years, and their kids are getting a little bit older where they can help. The host family is not technically part of the Marianist family, but they're here with us preparing for the families to arrive days before the retreat. They do all the behind the scenes tasks. They're doing bath mats and sweeping sand out of the showers and doing all those kinds of tasks. But they're also the family. When we do a family activity and families are asked to present their little project or whatever they did, the host family goes first, and they set that model for the other family. So that's an important role also in our ministry.
Yeah, and you know what? That practical aspect of the cleaning and the doing the meals and all of that, I just love that. I love it because it's something that you can take from that retreat and take home with you, because it means different families have different ways of doing chores and, and things like that. We always did chores in my family, but I know families where that's not a big deal. But when you come on this family retreat, hey, you're put into a group and you have to work with people who, I remember our team captain was a 20-year-old, and he's like telling all of us adults and the little kids too what to do. And it was great. It was great. But it's like another way, because when you're working together, that's forming relationships. And for people to experience that when you're working together to care for your environment, to care for your community, it's such a positive thing. It's such a positive thing, and we're all contributing. So this whole idea too of the discipleship of equals, because what struck me about that
which is another theme for the Marians.
That's another Marianist core belief. But that whole idea of we're all working together. And even Father Joe was like on the cleanup crew. Like he's working right alongside us, Yeah. And that's the way it should be, and it's so wonderful.
Yeah, but it really does elevate the dignity of work, and it's about camaraderie. Like we were all, we were guests, we were receiving a lot, but we're also contributing. And young to old, everyone was contributing. Like that, there's a beautiful dignity in that they're fully participating, at all levels and seeing this is how it operates. You guys modeled that with your community, meaning with the Marinist family, the volunteers that were there.
And the host family models it, as well, which is genius.
That is so good.
Yes. Yeah, that is. And anyway, anything else that you would like families to know, even if they...
any encouragements, I guess I would say.
Yeah, exactly.
As they're looking at, for those who want to come, but even for the larger audience that may not be able to, what would you say as you look at over the years, the families that you've ministered to? What's some encouragement that they can put in place or do to live out some elements of what you offer there that you've seen bore fruit?
Well, I would say the number one thing is this is an all-inclusive vacation, all-inclusive experience.
Yes.
So many families will come to me, especially the parents, and say, you have no idea what a blessing it is to have everything programmed. When you wake up in the morning till you go to bed at night, the kids are never arguing about, I want to go to McDonald's, or I want to go to this restaurant. No, everyone's going to the dining room at 12:15 for lunch. That's where you're going. And the same thing with the program.
It's actually true. I'm a genius.
Yeah, you don't have to. Parents are taken out of the equation in terms of determining what the family's going to do for the week. And that is so freeing for families. I mean, I know I've been on vacation with my own kids, believe it or not, and it can be challenging. You know, like this one wants to do that. And I only have 2 kids. This one wants to do this one, you know. But here we're all doing everything together. And the kids just, you know, like going back to, oh, my kid would never do that, or that's not for our family. Give it a try, because kids fall right into it. They like that, those boundaries of this is what we're doing. And then another core belief that we have is that structured and unstructured time is specifically built into the program. There's 5 hours every day where there is absolutely nothing programmed. You as a family can go to the beach. You can go take a ride into town. Cape May is one of the top tourist places in all of the East Coast. There's so much to do, and you have time to do that with your family. So if that's part of what you feel you need, like, hey, I want to be able to make my own decision part of the time. Well, you got 5 hours every day. Do whatever you want. Go to the lighthouse, go into town, go on the nature trails. There's just so much to do.
And then one thing.
That's huge. Anything you would add, Jessica? Sorry.
Well, one thing that we haven't really touched on, but we have no technology here. I mean,
have a TV.
Yeah, I don't want to say no technology, but that ties into bringing families together with each other. It ties into bringing the community together. You know, you guys know this from your experience, but we discourage folks from having their phones with them. And we give a special talk to the teens about not having their phones with them, so that everyone can really be focused on each other. So even if you're trying to do a retreat at home, there has to be that commitment to putting the phones away and, you know, we'll maybe show a music video, but there's not TVs in the rooms. There's not TVs in the common areas. So we can really focus on each other and why you're there and why you're here.
So when we were driving to, we decided to not break it to our kids that we're going to take their phones away until we were driving there.
They couldn't get out. The doors were locked. There was no getting out. 2
hours away. And we were like, okay, guys, this is the deal. We're going to be no phones, because we just said no phones at all. We're like, we're going to take your phones.
Your feed has stopped.
What? And I'm like, it's going to be fine. You're going to survive. And then basically the kicker was, I said, look, if I can survive a week without alcohol, you can survive a week without your phone, okay? So everybody has to make their own decisions, their own sacrifices for this weekend. But anyway, it was a really, actually a really good thing for us and for the kids, I think, to not have that distraction, something that was taking them away from being present to each other, to being really present to what was going on in the community and all of that. So
it changed the whole dynamic of conversations, right?
Yes.
I mean, it made a big shift, and there was resistance at first, but it quickly evaporated, and it really did, because again, going back to Fooch, what you were saying about just filling up the day, the program, the kids felt like they got a lot of free time in. They felt like they've got a great time out in the shore, and they came back and they were pretty tired. You know, I mean, it was beautiful. And so that's a great recommendation for when you're doing it. Like, you know, Jessica said, get rid of technology, but also just schedule some things so that you're giving them some structured but unstructured time, and then get them tired out so that at the end of the day they're not worried about it. They're full, they're happy, and they're going to sleep well that night. So that was great. So where can folks find out more about you? The website, and we talked. I'm going to just make one mention. So we had We didn't do it, but I know you have a retreat dedicated particularly for young families. You can only do a couple of those that have lots of little kids. I don't know if there's, I forget the name of it, but you have different family retreats that are available.
Can you just describe the young family retreat real quick? Because I think this is so cool. Like, it's the coolest thing ever.
It sounds really crazy.
I want to model a retreat like this. But could you just talk about that real briefly?
Well, it's creatively named Families with Young Children Retreat.
I thought it was something complicated. Yes.
No mystery there. But Jessica, really, I don't even go on that retreat. Jessica, I can't even talk about this. Jessica's going to talk about Families with Young Children because she is the queen of superstars.
Well, it's only a weekend long, which I think is important because the kids do get off schedule a little bit. And really, we're introducing some of the basic elements of our family retreats. We have very simple presentations for the whole family, simple family activities for the whole family. But then there's blocks of time where we have a volunteer couple, such as yourselves, come to talk to the parents while we take the children for different activities. We do a little Bible stories, circle time, go play, go for walks, so that
because these are kids like under 7, under 6,
7 and under.
7 under.
7
okay.
and under.
Okay.
Yeah. So we have a horde.
You guys are crazy.
Such great volunteers. So the parents.
Because it turns out to be a family retreat, but it's often focused in on the couple, right? Because mom and dad are going to get filled up, refreshed.
Right. Absolutely, absolutely, and we. They have the chance to meet as couples, meet with other parents, find fellowship, build that community. But then they do have basic family activities that we do.
Yes.
So it's both a parent retreat and a family retreat. And it really is a beautiful experience.
And one of the highlights of that retreat is Jessica and her volunteers feed the children on Saturday night early and then take them outside to play. And the parents, just the couples, get a nice candle lit, tablecloths, wine glasses, the whole bit. So we try to spoil the parents too, because it's tough when you're raising little kids. As you know, we know. It's tough to get away, find babysitting. So to be able to take your children with you, but then also have these sort of romantic elements built into the program is also pretty special.
I know when we were on our retreat, we talked to a couple there who did that. That was one of their first experiences. And they said, we had never gotten away by ourselves and we couldn't imagine doing it, but they brought their kids and they were like, they took care of our kids for us. Yeah. And I think the wife was like crying. She was like, I'd never experienced that kind of love before. Somebody watching, taking care of our kids so that as a husband and wife, we could remember, oh, I remember you. Yeah. Oh, and renew it, and that's beautiful. What a service. What a beautiful thing.
And I think it's such a great example of this is what community does. When you have, hey, you have all little kids, you need extra help, we're here to support you. Because you know what? Your kids aren't going to be little forever. And then when when your kids get older, you can turn around, you can help the next couple, who's coming up behind you. Like this couple that we were talking to, they started coming when their kids were little. Now their kids are teenagers, and that's the way it should be. We need to be living in community to really do family life well and with great grace and peace. Anyway,
all right, so last thing, but the last thing was to
we keep saying the last thing and then we ask you more questions.
I know, but Food. So if people want to sign up, people want to look into more, where do they go? What's the website?
Well, the website it's a little bit long, but it's Cape May Marianist with an S.org. So Cape May Marianist. If you just Google Cape May Retreat Center, Alicia, you'll get it. It'll come up.
That's how I found it.
That's right. We'll link to it in the show notes here, but
The other thing too, I think it's important to note is that the retreat center, we talked in the very beginning, the official name Marianist Family Retreat Center, but it really has become affectionately known as Mary's House because Mary is such a central figure in the life of the Marianist and in the life of the center. So, like, for example, our Facebook page is Mary's House MFRC. So, so people can find it. I think Instagram is the same.
Instagram is Mary's House.
So that's another way to find us through Facebook or Instagram, Mary's House MFRC. So that's also a nice little thing that we do around here, referring to this place as Mary's house.
And I should mention too that another one of the core beliefs is that Mary is our model, which
Yes.
is so beautiful. And we all gather to pray the rosary together in the evenings there. So, starting with Mass, ending with devotion to Our Lady. And she is our model. She's our model as a mother. She's our model as a daughter. And also that openness to the Holy Spirit of just saying, hey, Lord, use us, help me to communicate better. Help me to forgive. Help me to, go through, help me to affirm, doing all of the themes throughout the week. And I was just so blessed there having the Blessed Sacrament like in Mary's house and being able to go to the chapel, during that free time, if I wasn't on cleanup or whatever, to just be able to go and sit there and pray and just have some more spiritual refreshment on an individual level, as well as time with my spouse and with my children. So it was such a great blessing for our family to go. Thank you so much for the work that both of you do and have done for many years. It's awesome.
So we highly encourage our listeners to check them out, to see if there's an opportunity for you to have a very affordable but very all-inclusive experience with them. We created, before being with you guys, we created our own family retreat guide. We'd love to actually see if there's things you would add to what we're doing. But you can get that on our website as well. And we'll link both to Mary's house and share our family retreat guide.
I'm going to put you on the spot. Anthony, do you think that you can close us in a prayer?
Yeah, how about we close with our Marianist doxology that you learned. You may not remember it, but Jessica and I know it by heart. We can say it, and we'll say it once, and then maybe we'll say it together. How about that?
We'd love it. Yes, absolutely.
May the Father and the Son and the Holy Spirit be glorified in all places through the Immaculate Virgin Mary. Amen.
That was beautiful. Thank you so much. We need to live that. And really, again, if there's anything that you can do this year as you're looking forward as a family, consider a family retreat on your own, joining the Marianists. This is something that we all need to take a pause in our rat race of our lives sometimes and invest in what matters most.
Absolutely.
Again, thank you both for joining us. And until next time, may the Lord bless you and keep you.